Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to create model form for our food menu model because in this database, we are adding the data from the backend. Correct? Whatever the items we have added from the backend we have added. But let's say for my application, my user wants to add some data. So basically, we cannot give the access of backend to the user, right? This database access we cannot give to the user. Let's say on YouTube also, if you wanted to upload some videos on the YouTube, will the YouTube gives the access of YouTube's database to you? No, right? You have some buttons. If you wanted to add the video to the YouTube's database, you will click on add video, upload video. You will add your video there and you will hit the button upload. So your video will be saved into the YouTube's database, correct, right? So as a user, we won't be having the access of the database backend, okay? So for user, we have to design this button. When user will click on add item button, user should get one form here where user can enter the image URL, item URL, next item name, and next item description and so on. So this add item button we are going to design today. Okay. So let's start. We are going to first create one form for this food menu model, which will accept what data? Item name, description, price and image. This data my form should accept because whenever we want to collect the data from the user, in any application, we will be using forms, guys. In the forms, we will be collecting the data from the user. Okay. So to explain this concept, I have created one simple presentation here. Just go through it. See, whenever we want to create one forms in Django, we can create a normal HTML forms also if we don't want to send the data to the database. But if you want to store the data into the database, you have to create a model form in Django. See, we have something called as forms module. In that forms module, we will be having model form, which will help us to create the form based on the model. So basically in HTML, you would have written the code, label, then input type text, input type number. Okay. So we no need to write that overall HTML code. Django will write that code for us and Django will create one form for us. Okay. How? So this information we have to give to the Django. Look here, everyone. We will be creating one forms.py. From Django, we will import the forms module. And from models, we will import the food menu model because for this only we want to create one form, right? So inside this database, if you want to accept the data from user, create one form for user for this database only. Okay. So we will mention one form name. Okay. Form name is food menu form. So this will inherit from model form which is present inside forms module. Okay. So this food menu form is for which model? So that metadata I will be giving here. So we will be having one class meta. In this we will mention model is food menu which we already have imported. So for food menu model you create one form. Okay. How many input fields you need? As you can see, this is called as input field. So in the form, how many input fields you need? So I am telling 1, 2, 3, 4. One for item name, description, price and image. So 4 input fields I need, 4 input fields you will be getting. So here basically we have given information for this model food menu. I want to create one form and these many input fields should be considered in that form and form name is food menu form. Okay. So when Django will generate this form, see, this is nothing but a class name only, right? Food menu form is a class name. So when you create one object for that food menu form, okay, food menu form, actually here opening and closing bracket should be present. So when you create one object for that food menu form, one form will be generated internally like this. Okay. So this is what we call it as a model form. Okay. When to create model form? So in this form, if you enter the data and if you hit submit button, Django won't provide you. We have to create our own submit button. Okay. So when we hit submit button, what and all the data user will enter in this automatically will be stored inside which database? Food menu database. Okay. Still, you might be having many confusions how this works, what and all things are connected with each other. We'll discuss everything. You will get 100% clarity. Let's first implement it. Okay. So the first thing which we have to do is inside this my app, we have to create a new file. The file name we will give as forms.py. Okay. So now let's create first one form for our model, which is called as model form. Okay. So first we have to import the forms module. So from Django, import forms module. Okay. Forms module. Okay. Next. From Django, import forms module. Next, from dot models, import. What is our model name? Food menu is our table name, database name, correct? So this model I have imported. Next, we'll create one form. Our form name will be food menu form. This should inherit from forms dot model form. Okay, model form is a class name. Okay, forms is a module. Okay. Now inside this, we will be having meta class, which will define for which model you want to create this form. So I will write model is the same code I am writing here, guys. Okay. So model is, what is our model name? Food menu model. Okay. How many fields you want inside this form? If you want to include all input fields, directly you can write all like this. But now let's mention all the input fields one by one. See, inside this models.py, we have the column names, this field names. So same field names we should use inside this forms.py. I'll just split the screen. Okay. Now see, the first field name is item name, correct? So inside the square brackets, in single quote, I will write item name. This field names I'm mentioning here. One extra space also should not be present. Otherwise, you will be getting an error. Not error, actually, your data won't be submitted into the database. Okay. So make sure you will be using the same names. Next is DESC. So I'll just write it here. DESC. Next, we have price. Okay. Next, what we have? Image. So in single quote, I'll just write image. This input fields. So if you want to include all the input fields, either you can write like this or directly you can mention double underscore all double underscore. Okay, it will include all fields. Okay, our model is ready now. What next? Next, we'll go inside the views.py. Okay, here it is. Here we will implement one view which will create the objects for this particular food menu form. Okay. So when we create the object for this food menu form, automatically internally one form will be created. One input field for this, another for this, another for this, and another one for this. Okay. So we no need to write input type, input type, input. We no need to write. Django will generate this form and will return when we create an object for this class. Okay. So now what is our requirement? The requirement is when user will click on this button, then that form should be generated for our food menu model. Okay. So let's give URL for this add item. Okay. Target that button. Where is that button? Inside our templates, inside home.html, we have that button, right? So this is my add item button. Okay. So I will be telling here when user will click on this add item button, go to the URL. Okay, which URLs? Inside my app, you will be getting one URL with the name, let's say add item. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Go inside the my app. You will be having URLs. Where we have URLs of my app? This one, guys. URLs of my app. Okay. Okay, sorry. So we'll go to the URLs of my app. In this, we have to create one URL with the name add item. Okay. So I will go inside this. We'll create one path. Okay. When user will enter add item slash, then it should go inside the views. It should invoke add item view. This is the view name. And the name of the path is, you should give the same name which you have used here. See, this is the URL name, right? Path name. I'll copy this because when you click on this button, it will search for this path name inside URLs of my app. So I will be telling this path name is add item. Okay. So our URL is ready. Now inside views, we have to create add item view. So let's go inside the views. Views.py of our app. Okay. So what is our view name? Add item view we have to create, which will accept request. Okay. Now what this view will do? Okay. So here we will create one object for this class, this model form class. What is our class name? Food menu form. For this, we will create one object. Why do we need to create the object? Why we are creating object? Because when user will click on add item button, we should create one object for this food menu form and one form we should display to the user. Correct? So you are creating the object for this food menu form. See, automatically it got imported. In your case, if it is not imported automatically, you just import it manually. Okay. Okay. So now whatever the object got created for this particular form, we will send this form to one of the HTML document. So I'll just write return render request, comma, which HTML document you want to render. So here we will create one HTML document with the name add item form dot HTML. So this particular HTML document we will create, and to this document, this form we will pass. Okay, this form data we will pass like this. See here, form. In key value pairs only we can pass the data, and I'll just write form. So whatever the object we have created, we are passing that form to this HTML document. So where to create this HTML document? Inside my app only we will be creating. So you can write it like this also. Inside my app, we have this food item form.html. This is also fine, or directly also we can write it. Okay. So we'll just save the code. Now we have to create one HTML document. So the document name should be add item form.html. You can check add item form.html. These both names should match. Enter. So now we are passing some data to this HTML document, right? This form. Okay. So inside this, look here, I will be writing just like this form. That's all. So let's see what will happen if we write like this. See, this form is a key. This key I am using to fetch the data, whatever we have sent to this HTML document. So now how this code works, from where this code works, let's see. When user will click on add item, which URL we are calling add item URL inside urls.py of my app. So let's check. Okay, add item URL is present. Which view it will invoke? Add item view. Okay. So add item view is present here. It will create one object for the form, and we are passing that form to the add item form.html. So this will be rendered and returned to the user. So let's see how Django creates the form internally. I'll just save the code. We'll go back and refresh it. So let's check. Okay, we are getting the... Is there an issue? Let's check. I guess my server stopped. Let me check. Okay, here you can check spelling mistake I did. So I'll just go inside the forms.py. Here. Okay, so that's why it is showing some error. Okay, we have fixed that error now. Now let's come back and let's refresh it. Let me check. Okay, so it is showing my app is not registered namespace. So if you are also getting the error like this, what you have to do is go inside the URLs. Okay, here you just mention the app name. App name is, what is our app name? My app, right? So just mention the app name here. And we have to register our app name as well. Let me check. Okay, it's working now. So now if I hit add item, can you see I'm getting one form, guys? Okay, who created this form? Have we created? If you check what is the path now, when I click on add item, what path I'm getting? Add item path I'm getting. How? Because inside this, you have only told when user will click on add item, it should go to the path which has a name add item. So inside URLs, which path has a name add item? This path has a name add item. So in address bar, automatically you will get like this slash add item slash. So this path, see this path automatically will come when we hit on add item button. So it will invoke add item view, which is present here. We created one object for food menu form. So this is the result of that object. As I have told you here, see, when we create the object for this class, what will be the output? This input fields will be the output, correct? So can you see we are getting input fields in the output. So this is the magic of model forms in Django, guys, okay? So as I have told, submit button Django won't provide. We have to create our own submit button. So let's come back to our add item form.html. If you wanted to access each input field separately, you can access like this. See here, I'm creating one form, okay? And this is the closing of form. We'll give one heading also if you want here. In H1, I'll just write add new items here. Okay. So like this, we'll give one heading and this is the closing of H1. Later, you can design it however you want. So now inside this form, we are going to create one button also. So I will give the button. And this will be the submit button. And this is the closing of button. So now each input field, I wanted to access it separately. First, I will save the code and let's check it out. See, we are getting the button here. Okay. So now let's access the each input field separately because I wanted to give the BR tags as well. Okay. So check it out the field names inside the models.py or in forms.py also. We have mentioned this field names, right? So these field names are nothing but the name attribute for each input field. Okay. So you can access it like this. See, label. First, we have item name, right? Item name. Or we can write it like this, item name. And this is the closing of label. Okay. Now inside this, we need an input field, right? So you just write it like this, form dot item name. Form dot item name. Instead of writing like this, we can write like this also. So now if I save the code, let me show you the output. See, I'm getting item name only and one input field for the item name. So if you want all the input fields like this, what you can do? Again, you can take a label. Okay. This time you want to accept what else we have after item name, item description, right? So write it like this, item description, and this is the closing of label. Below this, you can access form.desc is the name, right? So item description. In the same way, we'll create one more label for item price. So I'll just write item price, and this is the closing of label. And below this, we no need to write input. Input fields are created by Django. So we will just write price. That's all. Next, this is the label for what else we have? Image also we have. Okay. So image. This is the closing of label. Image URL we will write. Image URL. Okay. And next we'll create one input field for the same. So form dot image. That's all. So now let me check the output. Yeah, we are getting the input fields like this. If you want it on new line, you can give it on the new line. You can just make use of BR tag. Okay. Or you can paste this code to the ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT, style this form. ChatGPT will style it for you. Okay. So that's not a big thing. I will use the BR tag to take this submit button on the new line. Okay. So if I just refresh it, see, I got the submit button here. Okay, understood. Now carefully, if you observe, if I click on this label, my cursor should blink here because this label is associated with this input field. This label is associated with this input field. You might have used a for attribute in your HTML. When user will click here, my cursor should blink here. So now that ID you have to give for this label. Okay, so for. Now what is the ID of input field? That ID of input field, if we give here, automatically cursor will blink there, right? So how to fetch the ID? So Django will provide the IDs for this each input element in this format. Look here, everyone. ID underscore. What is the field name? Item name, right? So just mention the field name, item name. So this is the ID for this input field provided by Django. We are not creating it. So let's see whether it is working or not. I'll just save the code. We'll refresh it. I'll click on this label. See, my cursor is blinking here. In the similar way, if I click here, my cursor is not blinking here inside this input field. So the same ID we will give for each label for, again, you can check it out here. ID underscore, what is the field name? DSC, right? So we will write DESC, field name. Again, in the same way, for is equal to ID underscore, what is the field name? Price. In the same way, we'll give the ID for this for is equal to ID underscore field name is image. That's all. So now IDs we have given, we'll refresh it. See, if I click here, cursor is blinking in that respective input field. Got it? Okay. So now, if I click on this add item, can you check I'm getting this particular form? But if I want to go back, I need to click here again. So what basically I want for my this form also, I need this navigation bar. Okay. So what we can do, where is our navigation bar ka code? Check it out once. It is here, right? In home.html, we have the code for navigation bar. Correct. This is the code of nav bar. So now this nav bar code you can copy and you can paste it at the top here. Okay. We'll save the code. I'll just go back and I'll refresh it. Now you can check I got that navigation bar for this my form as well. But the problem is we have copy pasted that code in this. So don't you think code redundancy is there? Let's say we have 10 HTML documents. So 10 times will you repeat this complete code? No, right? And one more drawback is, let's say I have changed some styling here. So in 10 different documents, you have to change that styling again and again and again. So this is not the efficient way to work with this. Okay. So for that purpose, we can create one base.html and inside that we will store this our particular code. Okay. So we will learn how to create that base.html in the next video. For this video, what you do, just create the form for our model. Which model? Food menu model, correct? So in the forms.py, we have created that model. And in views, we have created one object for it. And we are returning that object. As of now, if I click on this, we are getting this particular add item. Okay. So what we will do before we end this video, we will ensure that when user will click on this food app, we should get the home page, means all the list of images, item names, and detail button. That home page we should get. Okay. So who is returning the home page? In the URLs, this path, right? So we will give a name to this path. The name is equal to, I'll just give here as home. Name is home. Okay. So when user will go to this home URL inside the views, this home view should be invoked and this home.html should be rendered to the user. Okay, this is what I want. So let's go inside this home.html. Where is our navigation bar? Here it is, right? Food app. This is the title. So here we will give the URL. Okay, this is my URL. So when user will click on this food app, where it should redirect? Inside my app, we have the URLs. Which URL it should call? Home URL. That's all, guys. So when user will click on, look here, when user will click on food app, inside URLs of my app, home URL will be called. Okay, let's check whether it is working or not. I'll refresh it. Now, but we have this particular URL into our add item also. Add item.html. There also we should repeat it, right? Because 2 times we have to repeat it. Okay, add item here. So this is the drawback, guys. If we copy paste the navigation bar in multiple HTML documents, if we do little bit of change also, 10 times in all the HTML documents, we have to paste it. So we'll fix this issue, but first let's check whether it is working or not. We'll refresh it. If I click here, see, I have redirected on the home page. If I click on add item, one form I got. If I click here, I have redirected here. Now in the next video, we will learn When user will enter the data here, let's say user wants to enter ice cream, description of the ice cream is cold, price of the ice cream is 80 rupees, one URL of the ice cream we will give. And if I hit submit, the data should be submitted and that item should display here. As of now, it is not happening because we have not written the complete logic. Okay. So in this video, make sure your form is ready. And in next video, we will fix this code redundancy of navigation bar as well. Okay. So thank you for this video, guys. We'll meet in the next video. Until then, do revise it and take care all of you.